Hello everyone, Makadini Mayor said Kuchinga Midzai. My name is Ruthie Rabe and this is Love the Ruins Me, my official YouTube channel. Today I am going to be continuing with the subject matter of therapy. This is a place where psychology meets Christianity. So I am going to be tackling the subject matter of should Christians go see a therapist? Then I will ask you this question: should Christians go see a doctor? A lot of people do not even question a Christian who goes to a doctor, but then you hear a person saying, "You're going for therapy." Oh my goodness, you're going to offend God. So you find that first things first, we need to understand there are different kinds of therapy or counseling or advice that a person might need when they go and approach a therapist. You have child psychologists, you have organizational psychologists, you have clinical psychologists, you have marriage therapists, and you have all these kinds of different people that can be offering you help. So it's not necessarily that a person is losing their mind. That's the reason why they're going for counseling. And then we also now have to understand what or who is a Christian. A Christian is a person who believes in the person of Jesus Christ. So that means if a person is here and I cut you, you are not going to bleed Christianity. Unfortunately, you will bleed blood, which means that the problems, the diverse kinds of trials and tribulations and painful things that can happen to people, you might experience them as well. You might find yourself struggling with giving birth. You might be miscarrying all the time. You might be having an unfaithful spouse, whatever problems, and you find that they could be affecting you. Now in church, where your people are preaching and people are teaching you, count it all joy when you find diverse kinds of trials, exercise your faith, you're always supposed to be grateful, you're always supposed to be thankful. But then you're facing these things, you're struggling, and then when you try and speak up and when you try and tell somebody that I am struggling with these things, you are mocked, you are shamed. So people resort to number two. They begin to live double lives. People are addicted to drugs because they are being weighed down in their souls and they want ways to cope. People are addicted to sex. People are addicted to pornography. People are stepping out on their spouses. People are beating their spouses. People are doing all kinds of atrocities. The enemy is having a field day with the children of God because when they come with their problems to church, people are being mocked and shamed. People are being told, hey, you need to exercise your faith. Are you not ashamed that God carried his cross. Why can't you? God is allowing these things to teach you a lesson. If God used pain and poverty and trouble to treat and discipline you, why wouldn't be everyone be obeying God by now? Look in Africa. We have a lot of poverty and problems and issues. Wouldn't we be Christians and all perfect little children of God by now if that were true? So let's stop making fun of people who are coming to us for help. I mourn with my brothers and sisters who have been made to feel or who think that the only option they have is to be fake, who think that the only option they have in Christianity is to present a facade and an act and pretend to be something that they are not, when in true fact, God came here. One of his names is Counselor, the wonderful Counselor who will trade beautiful ashes, who will remove your cloak of depression and put on you joy and put on you jubilation and celebration and happiness, and you're always going to be happy and have peace that surpasses all understanding. But why is it that we're not seeing it in church today? Now, the reasons I'm going to give are not saying they're the only things that are happening. I am not coming at pastors. I know there's some good people out there. It is only the small minority that tarnishes the majority these days. So you'll find that in church, it's supposed to be a place of rest. People go to meet with other like-minded believers. We dance and we sing and we worship. We sit down. We expect to have a leader who's often called a pastor, bishop, apostle, to come in with the word of encouragement. Every single time I leave church, I am always supposed to be encouraged in the Lord because the truth of the gospel would have been preached. But alas, what is happening these days, people are going to church for shows. People are going to church to see who has casted a demon out. Who is that even good English? Who had a demon cast out? Who can read your ID number? Who can have money just coming into your bank account? Who can lose weight? Who can do all these weird things? And now people are just going there for show. But unfortunately, people seem to forget that the problems that they live with will follow you and they will be with you. And people now begin to wonder, why do I keep on being angry? Why am I always gossiping? Why am I this angry person and I am not this grateful person, and I can never seem to have the breakthrough that I want? And then people begin to go to witch doctors, and then people begin to pretend, and the cycle is over and over and over again. Pastors, I would really, really want to encourage you to begin the conversation with your congregation where you tell them that it is okay when you find yourself distressed, when you find yourself in pain and you're vexed in your mind. It is okay for you to visit people like therapists, especially ones that fear God. You could actually begin to engage counselors and begin to understand, okay, so what is therapy? Which is one of the reasons why I have this channel anyway, to show you that there are people who are Christians, but they also have studied psychology and they're being used by God to bring about freedom to a lot of people. God is in the business of using anybody and anyone, especially if they're just willing. Okay, sometimes pastors, they have a lot of people and a lot of responsibilities. They have no time to sit down with you and you're crying and you're taking 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Counselors sometimes go through sessions of 2 hours and they can meet a person once a week or twice a week for 6 months, a year, or years. And because they are dedicated and they're trained to do that, they're trained to listen so that they hear what you're saying, not to just listen and then they start bashing you with scriptures. They start telling you, and their good intentions, pastors, bless their heart, they might begin to offload on you things that you're supposed to do. You need to fast harder. You need to pray harder. You need to go to the mountain. You have unconfessed sin. You have a double lifestyle. You are doing this. You're displeasing God. This is why A and B and C is happening to you, when sometimes a person just wants a place, a place where they can just speak without judgment, without harshness, and without somebody being too quick to offer advice, to listen. Now, as a psychologist, obviously I'll be biased to my field, but then I'm just presenting us as an option today to say it is okay for you to visit us. It is okay for you to come and see us. Obviously, if I tell you to renounce your faith, then that is a problem. But there are some of us, okay, that fear God, that love psychology, and they are willing to help you. Sometimes you also have to understand that pastors have been working with God for years. They study the Bible. I mean, it is their job. So their faith sometimes could look as if it's so big, it's unattainable, and they appear larger than life. So maybe they lose their spouse or they lose a child or something is happening to them. They can continue to have joy. They cannot even be fazed. And you as a congregant, you begin to feel bad. You're like, but I just broke up with my boyfriend and I wanted to commit suicide. But my pastor, he lost his wife and child. And look at him, he's happy. And you begin to compare and you begin to feel as if you're not adequate enough to serve God simply because of this. Again, pastors, tell your people that you are just a human being. You've just been walking with God longer than they have, and begin to teach people the truth. The gospel of God is not sold for any price. The gospel of Jesus Christ is free, and everybody is supposed to go to church. Their souls are supposed to find rest. They're supposed to find relief because they've gone to church. And unfortunately, these days, some people are not doing that, and people continue to walk in pain, continue to walk in shame, continue to walk in devastating depression and suicide. You hear people talking about, no, I am highly favored and I'm blessed, when people are highly depressed and stressed out. And I am so sad that that is the reality that we're seeing in churches. Divorces are rampant. Suicides rates are going up. when in true fact Jesus is called a wonderful counselor. He has the good news that is saving our souls. So why are we not seeing these things happening? Maybe we need to go back and begin to review what we have been practicing. Is it real Christianity, or we are now just in money-making businesses? I am not here to condemn or bash anybody. I am just here to say, maybe when you do not have these things offered to you, you might want to begin to consider counseling. And sometimes the church is really good, but you just want an environment that is new, that can be objective, and with a person that can just speak to you one-on-one in a closed environment, and you feel safe. Okay, so anyway, I have been talking about this from the church point of view. Let's hear what a therapist can offer you, what I can obviously offer you. All right. Okay, so what can a therapist do for you? You have to remember, like I was saying, God is not petty, guys. Human beings are petty. If you're my best friend and then I seek advice from another friend, I can get offended. Oh my gosh, how could you overlook me? I thought we were besties. I thought you were my boyfriend. Why did you seek help from another person? But God is not like that. He will happily help you to find a person who can help you, because God is not above using anybody. Actually, it is in the business of God to use the things that are shame, to use the base things, to use these tiny and small things to bring about his glory and to bring about whatever message that he wants people to know. So let's just hear that. Sometimes admitting that you are stressed, or you are depressed, or you are suicidal could look as if you were saying, I have an unconfessed sin. I'm living a double life. I am not praying hard enough. I'm not tithing. I'm not doing the things that a good Christian is supposed to do. But let me tell you something. At times it's not like that, because there are things that happen to people without their control. You were raised by an abusive father. You were raised by an abusive mom. Did you apply to be like that? You married your spouse and you were happy, and now they cheated on you. You married and you were happy, and now you cannot give birth. Can you control all those things? So at times it's not about unconfessed sin. It's just about things that happen that are unforeseen. And at times people are not really mature in their faith to understand that God can help them. So we have the psychology department to help you until you get to a place where you can actually begin to take advantage of the full benefits of your faith. So what can a therapist do for you? A person like me who walks with God and who prays and who believes in God, I actually operate in the gifts of the Spirit, because the Spirit is for everybody and he does not favor. I have, sometimes when I'm talking to a person, I can have a word of knowledge. I can have a word of wisdom. So imagine I'm counseling you and we're talking together. Either you're a Christian or you're not a Christian. God can begin to actually tell me the things that are happening in your life, and I can begin to have answers for you, or I can begin to actually steer the conversation to a place where you begin to say, but you're right. How did you know? It's as if you were there. How could you? It's because God is God. He's everywhere. He knows you and he loves you. You know, psychologists have actually mastered the art of relationship. They know that if a person, we are actually trained, especially by Carl Rogers, who is a humanistic psychologist. He understands that if a person has anyone in their life who accepts them, who understands them, who shows them empathy, who shows them kindness, that person is going to sort of like be an anchor for this person to change or to go in a positive direction. You see people that are in relationships, they're just happy. You see people with their children who love them, they're just happy. You see people that have good employers, good teachers, good counselors, good pastors, they just thrive and they're doing good. And then you see a child who comes from a family that is very bad, and they have bad parents and they have bad spouses. You see a person is depressed, a person is just not thriving and performing at their optimum best. So psychologists try to replicate sort of like a place where you have an environment where the atmosphere is accepting. It is not judgmental. We're not judging you. We're not saying, Saka unyari manje. I'm not shocked, or we're actually trained in body language, tone of voice, and all these things, because every tiny little thing can impact how a person feels. And also, another thing that a therapist can offer you: I am a stranger, I do not know you, and I am not emotionally invested in you. There are times when when you go and see your pastor, you want to prove that you're a good Christian. You want to prove that you know how to pray. You want to prove that it's in people, everywhere. We just try to show our best and show our faith. But when you come to me, you have no reason to prove anything, because I actually do not know you, and we're not in the same circles. And even if we were in the same circles, I would actually absolve myself from your case, because I never want to treat you when I am not operating at my best. I am doing my job and I want to be really good at it. I have the time, I have the resources and commitment and dedication to just focus on you. And when you have a person who does that for you, who is not judging you, a person who looks at you and thinks you're important and thinks you're special, internally you are going to begin to say, I don't want it important. And then something in you is revived. This is what we want in relationships, where we do these things for each other. So a therapist is actually somebody who can teach you or show you what you are supposed to do for another person. This is something, people, that Jesus Christ does for us, but other people do not know this, and other people are not teaching people that the ultimate therapist, the ultimate counselor, I know I could be contradicting myself, but the ultimate counselor is Christ Jesus. But in cases when you do not have that, in cases where you are not receiving that from your family, from your spouses, from your friends, or anywhere, you can come to a therapist who's going to just be for you and help you. A therapist also is a person who understands the art of confidentiality. Many people have dropped out of churches when they went to confide in their pastors, and the next thing you know, it's the tea story, it's the gossip of the century. Many people have been hurt. You have no idea what it does to a person when they confide in you and then you take their secrets and you spread it around. It really destroys a person to the core. But us as psychologists, we are trained to understand that people want their stories to be in confidence. And this is something that you have with the Holy Ghost. He never goes around spreading your stories. He keeps them. He never says, attention everybody, this girl came to me because she was a prostitute. Like, he doesn't even do that, right? And also you have to understand that psychologists are trained to observe, to know how to diagnose any abnormalities in our personalities and people's behaviors and in our minds, and they can pinpoint exactly what it is that is happening with you when your mind is vexed. So you begin to have a name of what is bothering you: PTSD, depression, and all these things. And then you can take it to God and begin to say, God, I command depression or whatever it is, because God is in the business of healing all illnesses. And last time I checked, mental illness is something that is real. When you're depressed, it's not something that we joke about or mock or laugh, and it's not something that we should mock at people who are going and struggling through these things. So because they know how to identify these things, they can help you to put a name to whatever it is that is ailing you, and to get to a place where you begin to understand what is wrong with you. And when you go to the Bible and when you go to church, you know exactly what is happening and you can take it under authority. Also, another thing that a therapist can do for you is science is beginning to prove to us that these things that we see in our food, in our physical bodies, called cancers, diabetes, migraines, headaches, and all these things, the root source is actually can be traced back to the thoughts that are happening in your mind on a daily basis. People are not taking care of their minds. They allow whatever thoughts, that's even what the Bible is teaching us. Take authority of whatever thought that is coming and destroy it, and refuse to be condemned, refuse negativity, refuse all these things. But we allow these thoughts to run in our minds, and constantly we're being negative towards our bodies, towards our lives, towards people, towards everything. And before you know it, you are stressed out, you are depressed, and before you know it, you are developing cancers, you are developing diabetes. And so what better way is to prevent cancers by tackling with your mind today than to spend hours in the mountain praying for God to heal your cancer when we could have dealt with it today. God is not going to turn you away because you're struggling with something that people might call petty. It's okay. If you think my depression is stupid, it's fine. God does not judge me. God does not mock me. He will heal me. And us psychologists can understand that. So, as I was just saying that, sometimes people were not raised to believe in seeking for help. Sometimes they did not have a person who modeled humility, where you can ask for help from somebody. So sometimes it's very hard. And sometimes we have Christians who claim to be Christians, who claim to be believing in God, but then they're not practicing and walking in their faith. So sometimes when you find heavy things happening to you, you struggle to deal with the things that you're dealing with. So therapy is not eliminating your faith. Therapy is not accusing you. Therapy is not saying munu you are going to matter. Therapy is just an option that can be available for you, that is availed to you, that you can get, and you can have help for yourself. I really just want to tell everybody out there that you can beat whatever it is that you're struggling with. You can beat whatever it is that you're going through. It is not the end of the world. I do not mean to sound as if I'm belittling whatever it is that you're going through, but I want to tell you that the field of psychology has trained specialists who can uncover, these people, science, who uncover and explain everything. But then let me tell you something. Only God is our counselor. Only God is our OG counselor. So again, I sound as if I'm contradicting myself, but I believe in God. But then I also want to say you can have counseling as your option. You can have counseling as something that can be availed to you. We have years and years of practice. People that are older than me, that are now doctors. I'm still to get my certification. You can get help, and it'll be help that'll be suitable for you. I will talk about what it is that you need to look for in therapists in the next videos, but today I just wanted to talk about it is okay for a Christian to go for counseling. And also, if there's any time in any way where you feel condemned and guilty about doing something, it is not from God, because the devil is the one who accuses, and Jesus has set us free from all condemnation. He just wants you to be happy. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. I really, really hope that you're blessed and that you're staying safe. Karaim Nashe and Komborirwai.